We can just do whatever.
All right. Very first episode from Gotham to Knowhere, weekly comic book podcast. I am Noah Calvin.
I am Spencer Ty, believe it or not.
And when this podcast gets rolling, we're going to be talking about the comics that come out that week, every week. But to kick it off, for the very first episode, we're going to be talking exclusively about the DC Rebirth because it's a really good place to start.
This is really good. I agree. Cool. All right. That was weird. Let's just get started, shall we?
DC Rebirth, or DC Universe Rebirth #1 by Jeff Johns, May, I think, came out in May, and it relaunched the DC Universe. The New 52 turned into the Rebirth. It wasn't a reboot, it was a continuing, bringing back some of the old things that have been taken out, and the story kicks off with a watch, and a voice is talking about how he received a watch from his uncle after high school graduation, and then we see Wally West, who was not in the New 52, I don't think, at all. Or wait, there was a Wally West. He was black, and we thought he was the reboot version.
African American, not black.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
We
love all races here.
We thought he was the rebooted version of Wally West, but he's not. We find out in Rebirth #1 that they're cousins, and they had a grandfather named Wallace West that they were both named after. But in the current universe, nobody remembers our Wally West, the red-haired Kid Flash Wally West.
My favorite Flash.
Yes, mine as well. But Wally West makes his comeback in this book, and he is stuck in the Speed Force, I believe.
Yeah,
and
Speed Force.
He goes to visit multiple people.
Starts off with Bruce Wayne.
Starts with Bruce Wayne, Batman, because Batman figures things out.
He says, because Batman's the best at uncovering mysteries.
And he tells him to remember in Flashpoint, Barry brings the note from Thomas Wayne to Bruce Wayne.
Which he says, started all this.
Yeah. And so I guess we're to believe that they think that Flashpoint started all these events, and Bruce Wayne doesn't remember Wally West, but is, I think, intrigued and seems like he's going to do some investigation of Wally West.
Yeah, I think so.
But
he's like, who are you? And I'm like, oh, interesting. This book makes me tear up every time I read it.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne's also, when Wally West comes to him, he's doing research because he recently found out from the Chair in the Darkseid War. He asked the question, what is the Joker's true identity? And the Chair said, which one? And Bruce Wayne is trying to figure out which of the three Jokers is the Joker. So
there are three. There's the Killing Joke Joker. There's Scott Snyder's Run of the Joker. I don't know what you'd call him.
I don't know. I guess Death of the Family, Endgame Joker.
Isn't there is it Golden Age Joker?
I don't know. So are they supposed to be three? I guess we don't know yet, but maybe we'll find out in Tom King's Batman book who each Joker is. But they haven't delved into a lot of these things they've set up. Yeah, he's looking at a board, but I don't know if that means they're each different Jokers or if he's just looking at different times from which he's faced the Joker and comparing them to each other.
Yeah, that can make sense.
After that, they show, I think, a brief, they show Wally West as a kid and meeting Barry and the Flash and then realizing they're one and the same, and him later being a member of the Teen Titans. Then I believe he visits a few others. I think he goes to Nightwing and Cyborg and eventually Linda Park.
Dick Grayson, Linda Park, Cyborg, someone else.
And Linda Park doesn't remember him either, which is it would have been the cliche if Linda was the one to remember him because they're in love, but it didn't work out that way.
She's my lightning rod.
Yeah, she did not. She did not remember him though. Kind of heartbreaking.
It hit me hard.
But there were little things patched in the story from basically all the other comic books that are going to be coming out. I believe is because we saw Mr. Cord and Blue Beetle talking to each other, and that same exact scene with Dr. Fate was recently in the Blue Beetle #1, where Dr. Fate appears and he tells Cord that they think they're dealing with an extraterrestrial, but they're really dealing with magic.
Yeah.
So the Blue Beetle...
It wasn't alien technology.
I guess not. So
initially thought.
Maybe in the Blue Beetle book, which is only on #1, we're going to find out more about that. But I think we've always thought the Scarab was alien technology.
I guess we did forget to mention that it is August 27th, 2016.
Yes. What else? What else is there? Oh, we see the Wonder Woman. We hear a little something about Wonder Woman's twin brother. Jason, which hasn't been explored in the Wonder Woman book. The Wonder Woman book so far has been her year 1 and a story with Cheetah, where She's kind of trying to bring her back to help her. And then we have Steve Trevor trapped in the forest with his friends.
So yeah.
All right. And then eventually, Wally makes his way to Barry Allen, the Flash.
This is one of my favorite scenes in comics.
This is the first scene in comic books that's made me cry. I want to say since Spider-Man Blue.
Really?
Not true. Actually, the Ultimate Comics 200, where they have the vigil for Peter, I think I got kind of teary-eyed. And when I say cry, I mean just teary-eyed. I never bawled over a comic book, but it is definitely a nice moment. Wally comes to Barry, and initially Barry doesn't remember him, and Wally starts to fade into the Speed Force. And
he doesn't go back.
Yeah, he gives him a speech.
Dying.
He says goodbye, and he thanks him for an amazing life, which is really touching. And then Barry says, Wally pulls him out, Wally? And they hug, and he says, how could I ever forget you? Just amazing.
Gets me every time.
And then Barry starts to remember. He says there are all these memories that are gone, and he says there was a Teen Titans once, and Wally says there was, and there are all these things. So we realized that the New 52 wasn't a separate world from the pre-Crisis, pre-Flashpoint world. We realized that it was a obstructed timeline. 10 years have been taken away.
I actually reread this book today. I think you did too.
I did. I reread it before we could talk about it, so I knew the main points to bring up, and
I still got teary-eyed today.
Yeah. And I think that's towards the end of the book, because they have the conversation, and Wally says to Barry, even now, we're being watched. And we see Batman with comedian's pin.
The Watchmen.
Yes, the first ever really confirming that the Watchmen does exist in the DC universe. Rorschach picks up the pin from the side of the road after Adrian initially murders the comedian and the Watchmen, and then Rorschach carries it until he's disintegrated by Dr. Manhattan, and now somehow Batman has it.
It was in the Batcave, though.
It was in the Batcave. So did Batman just find it then?
Or did Dr. Manhattan play?
That is not a story that has been told yet.
Mm-mm.
But
so, this is from like when Dr. Manhattan's like, we can build a better world.
Yeah, at the end of Watchmen, because then at the end of Rebirth, you see the clock again. You see the Wally West watch that his uncle gave him breaks into a clock, and the line that Dr. Manhattan says to Ozymandias, he says, nothing ends, Adrian. Nothing ever ends.
Nothing ever ends.
Which leads us to believe that the Watchmen story is not done. Now, Watchmen takes place in, I think, 80s, so they'd be a bit older. But Dr. Manhattan's basically a god. So when he shows up, if he does show up, maybe he is just the godlike figure of this universe. But if he eventually shows up in some kind of huge crossover event, I think he, will be kind of a huge figure for the DC universe.
Wally actually touches on that. He's like, it's something even more powerful than Darkseid.
Yeah, he says someone stole 10 years from us. It's not just some random cosmic event. They believe someone altered it. And also,
Barry initially, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
He initially thought that it was Reverse Flash.
Yeah, Reverse Flash, and then I think the Titans also mentioned Mr. Twister, who they dealt with in Titans Hunt. So there's all these theories, but we kind of know. I think that it's Dr. Manhattan, but then what makes me wonder is, did Dr. Manhattan do it out of good or out of bad? Because the Flashpoint messed things up. Did he try to fix them, or is he just trying to make his own new world? Because Dr. Manhattan, where you want to say he's a good guy, he kind of was emotionless. I wouldn't consider him a good guy. He told Silk Spectre, why would I save this world if I no longer have any stake in it? But why would he mess with the world then?
That's a good point.
So I don't know about that. But then multiple other Rebirth titles have kicked off since then. We haven't found out too much, but we are enjoying them all. What do you think of Tom King's Batman?
Batman, I did not get this as it came out. I actually borrowed this from my friend Noah Calvin, who is actually part of this podcast. Everyone give him a round of applause. That was dumb. But no, I read this and I enjoyed it a lot. I thought Gotham was a really interesting character, and I thought his progression from when he started as a superhero trying to be Batman to an insane madman was very interesting.
I thought it was very interesting, but it was a book that took me, I think, a couple issues to get into. I read 1 and 2. But I really like the Batman Rebirth, where Batman goes to guide the plane.
Yeah, that also.
And where Gotham first shows up, and you realize that he was inspired by Batman. His parents almost get gunned down, and Batman stops that. Batman prevents
He's
a
like, use
Batman
your
from
fear.
happening, and in a way creates another superhero. Creates two superheroes, which the Gotham girl wasn't even there for the traumatic event, but hearing about Batman from her brother, they both get inspired to become
She had
superheroes.
nightmares, I think it was.
Yeah, she has nightmares, and they both conquer their fear by becoming Gotham and Gotham Girl. And writing Batman right now for Tom King has to be huge because he's coming off of Scott Snyder's run on Batman,
which was great.
a
Incredible.
lot of people really say is pretty much the most legendary Batman run in a very, very long time. So I can understand that being a lot of pressure, but I think he's doing a good job. And in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, Batman is crossing over with Detective Comics and Nightwing, and they're going to do an event called the Night of the Monster Men.
That looks interesting because I think it was in Batman, Tom King's Batman, not Detective Comics, where multiple people would like kill themselves and say, "The Monster Men are coming."
The Monster Men are coming, and doesn't Gotham says it at one point too. And we saw that in the Batman book, Hugo Strange is messing with Psycho Pirate. And back in the 40s, there was a story where when Hugo Strange was still Batman's main villain, they had a story where Hugo Strange created these characters called the Man-Monsters. I don't know if they're taking a nod from Detective Comics in the 40s, but that's going back, and that's really impressive.
Did you get that from that Golden Age Batman?
I did. The Golden Age Batman trade paperback that's out. I was reading, and there's a man-monster story, and now the Monster Men, I feel like there could be a tie-in there.
Hey, that's pretty interesting.
It is, yeah. And Nightwing, he's currently working with the Raptor guy for the Parliament of Owls, but he's trying to tear them apart from the inside. I wonder how he's going to tie in with Batman.
I bought the Rebirth issue for Nightwing. I thought it was okay. I didn't like the art, though. Damian Wayne looked like a pudgy little child.
Yeah, the art on Nightwing Rebirth is rough. And I don't think the story hasn't quite grabbed me yet.
No, I thought the Parliament of Owls was dumb. I always thought the Court of Owls is probably my favorite Scott Snyder story.
I think I've had an issue with everybody touching Court of Owls since then. You know, Court of Owls was such a great standalone story, and I feel like they keep trying to bring it into other things. In the Robin War, it was all right, and they were trying to get Dick Grayson to come be their Gray son of Gotham, and eventually they get Damian, and then at the end it looks like they get Dick again. And of course they did because he's working for them in this one, but I think overusage of a character like, I guess a group like the Court of Owls isn't very good for them.
What else? Cool. And Detective Comics, the Rebirth issue showed, I think it's been a couple nights since I read it. It showed Batman assembling a team.
Batman puts together a team.
He started with Batwoman, and then they went to Tim Drake and
Spoiler,
Clayface, and
Cassandra Cain, but she's not Batgirl in the new 52/Rebirth universe. She has a different name. She doesn't have bat ears. She has the same kind of sewn together costume.
I can't think of her name.
Orphan. She's Orphan, and she's basically just
she's
really
like a ninja.
good
she doesn't say
beating
anything.
people up. Yeah.
And I thought her character was pretty funny. They would ask her,
cool.
"You good?" and she just hold thumbs up. It's pretty awesome.
Now, what do you think? Do you like this one as much as Batman, or? No?
I liked it. I didn't love it. I really liked Batman. I didn't love that either.
See, I think I like Detective a little more than Batman.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I like the fun little team aspect that he's got going with all these kids. And the reason he assembles them is because they're being watched by those bat drones that Batwoman's father actually sent on them because he's built a bat army, basically, that he based off of Batman.
Which I thought was a little silly. I thought it was kind of...
I think it's kind of cool. They get all their fighting moves from watching Batman, and they've studied him. And I'm glad Red Robin is in a Robin costume and not the Wing Teen Titans New 52 costume.
I'm not in love with his costume. I don't like how the logo says RR. If it would have just said R...
Something I've never liked about the New 52 is they're very adamant on making us believe that Tim Drake was never Robin, and he went straight to Red Robin because he wanted to honor that Jason died as Robin. But that doesn't make any sense because Tim Drake was Robin for years. And now, if it really is the same universe and 10 years are missing, we know that he actually was Robin. He just doesn't remember it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
I am a stickler for long sleeves. I am a fan of the all red Robin suits. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay, like Tim Drake's one Robin suit that was all red and didn't have any green?
Yeah.
I can get down with that, but I don't know,
I like Dick Grayson's short sleeve
it's classic.
Robin suits, but I also didn't appreciate. I can't say appreciate. I didn't like how Tim Drake's was like armor. It's like short sleeve armor.
Okay, I think the suit he wears in Detective Comics, I think it looks like a Robin suit that could actually work on the big screen.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
looks
know.
good.
I like
it. Doesn't. I'm just not that huge a
Yeah.
fan of it.
Yeah, I can get with you on the RR. I understand because they're calling him Red Robin.
Yeah.
But yeah, and
If you're gonna make him look exactly like Robin.
Yeah, just call him Robin. He should
Yeah.
just be called Robin at this point. Jason's back from the dead. And Damien's called himself Robin. I guess Damien is Robin right now, so you can't have two Robins.
Easy to kill Robin, easy to forget.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess you can't have two Robins because there were 100 of them in Robin War. Everybody was Robin.
But no, I like this story. I think Clayface and Tim Drake were probably my favorite parts about it. Clayface had me laughing a lot.
Yeah, he's
and
pretty
chuckling.
funny.
And Tim Drake is just awesome. He's
Tim
probably I don't need to talk about who my favorite
Robins are. I think.
Not yet.
Dick Grayson probably takes the cake.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell you guys that.
We forgot to mention Titans, and we've talked about Nightwing and Wally West. They're both members of the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool to see Wally West come back and make all of them remember him just by touching them.
Mm-hmm.
They all remember Wally by him touching them. I wonder if that works for everybody. Why doesn't he just go touch Linda Park? Because
if you looked in the book, they were standing pretty far away.
they were far away, but now that he's back...
He was asking her, too. He's like, I just need you to touch me and I'll be back.
Yeah, he asks her. He says to grab him and pull him out of there, basically. And she doesn't, but of course Barry Allen eventually does. But also in the Titans book, it was cool to see at the beginning Wally and Barry are still talking, still having their conversation that they had in Rebirth Universe #1, or DC Universe Rebirth #1. And they're talking, and Barry says, "You're not Kid Flash anymore, you're a Flash." And Wally gets that new Flash suit. So basically it's the Teen Titans, but they're grown up and they're
just Titans.
Yeah, they're just Titans now, but it's pretty cool because you got Tempest and that whole OG squad of Teen Titans, and now they're Titans. And they have their own book, and I'm sure they're going to deal with some of the Rebirth stuff, but right now they're dealing with Abracadabra, who says his final trick is going to be to make Wally West disappear.
Oh, probably won't work out.
Probably won't work out for him.
I am a huge fan of the OG Teen Titans, like Dick Grayson and.
Oh, of course, yeah. And Dick Grayson's a character who works in the Teen Titans. Marv Wolfman's new Teen Titans. I guess they're new Teen Titans, but it was many years ago now. Great story. And they say that in this Titans book, with the Deathstroke book, they're going to cross over once they get to issue 12 and retell kind of the origin story or.
Oh yeah.
But which is weird because in that story in New Teen Titans, Deathstroke's kid works with him and he dies, and that kind of pushes him over the edge because he wasn't necessarily a bad guy. He's just kind of a guy who had a moral code. And then his son dies and he's really mad at the Titans. But if you read the DC Rebirth Deathstroke #1, he has 2 kids at the beginning, 2 children.
Deathstroke has 2 children?
He does, and he shoots them both.
Oh.
He kills his children, so I wonder how that's going to work out. It was weird. He seemed like this guy who at the beginning was kind of a good father, and then he and his wife had some issues. And he goes camping with his sons, and he's kind of giving them a hard time, and it eventually comes down to what looks like him murdering his children. So, I don't... And he also had a daughter, I think, at one point, too, because she was a Deathstroke-like character in a Teen Titans book years ago. But it'll be interesting to see how they pull that off. If maybe his kids aren't dead. Maybe I misread. But it looked like he shot his kids. So I'm not sure.
Well, looks can be deceiving. I'm going to hold off. I'm going to try and hold off on talking about Superman. I got the whole everything. I think you gave me everything.
Yeah.
I'm about to read that probably after we do this. But I'm excited to do that. So.
Yeah. And Superman's good. And Action Comics is good. They're both very different. Superman focuses more on a family, like very Kryptonian, Lois and Jonathan and all them as a family. Action Comics has been 6 straight issues of Superman and Doomsday fighting each other.
Sounds awesome.
It's really cool, but I think it needs to end at some point, and I think it will. I think they said that the next issue or this issue is the conclusion of that story. But, yeah, we'll talk as that comes out.
Well, Superman can't fight Doomsday forever.
No, Superman can't fight Doomsday forever. And he's proved that before.
By dying.
They both
coming
died.
back to life.
Yes. And the New 52 Superman just recently died. And now, pre-Flashpoint, pre-Crisis, whatever we call the universe before the New 52.
We just
Sure, I
Rebirth
guess
universe.
that Superman has come to the Rebirth universe, and he apparently was here for a long time, and he and Lois had a kid, and he just wasn't being Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And once New 52 Superman died, he realized he had to become Superman, and he's not quite made friends with the Justice League yet. He kind of shows up and helps out.
That
and
happened. I remember that in like the Justice
League Rebirth.
issue.
And Batman doesn't seem to trust him yet, which is interesting because they said, there was an issue. I think it might have been Alfred or Wonder Woman. Somebody was talking to Batman, and Batman says, he's not my friend. He's not the Superman that died. So Batman doesn't trust Superman yet, which is very interesting because we're kind of going back to square one then. And I know they're doing a Trinity book, which the Trinity is Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman. So when that starts, clearly our New 52 Batman and our old school Superman have to become friends. Yes.
But no, like in the DC Universe Rebirth issue 1, that thick book that we all know and love, that we've been talking about for a while now, Superman and Lois were talking, and Lois, I think, says, like, is he going to come back to life too? And this Rebirth universe, Superman's like, God, I hope so, or something like that.
Yeah, because that Superman fought Doomsday died, but he didn't die. He went into like a super coma, and he came back, and they're wondering
coma, I think
exactly.
is what it was
Yeah,
called. It was something dumb like
comes
that.
back in a black space Kryptonian suit with a
With
long
that
mullet.
Lovely long hair.
That
That we
awesome
all
mullet. Yeah, and but if that Superman comes back, that's gonna be an interesting story then, because right now we have a Superman who has superpowers. We have some Clark Kent who we don't know if he's a clone or what. Lex Luthor is Superman. We have a Superwoman. We have Supergirl. And then if he comes back, we got another Superman. That's a lot of Superman.
And then you got the new Superman from like...
New Superman, you Chinese Superman.
Chinese.
Yeah, the Chinese Superman's pretty good. Have you read that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's pretty. It's okay.
I remember we were in the comic book store, and you were like, I don't think this looks good at all. And I was like, you're still getting it though, aren't you?
Yeah, I picked it up.
You texted me that night, and you're like, new Superman's great.
It is really good.
Check it out.
I don't know if the second one's out yet. If it is, I'll have to pick it up. But the first one, and something interesting I found out about it, is the kid who becomes new Superman, at the beginning, he's a bully. You know how it always starts out, Peter Parker's a nerd, gets picked on, becomes a superhero. Yeah. Well, this kid's a bully, and he's being mean to some kid, and then kind of accidentally saves that kid while bullying him, and he kind of takes credit for it and acts like this great hero. And, he comes home and he's bragging about being a hero, and his own father says, like, that's not you. And then he eventually becomes test subject to become the Chinese Superman. And at the end, we found out there's also a Chinese Batman and Wonder Woman. They're forming a Chinese Justice League.
Oh.
Justice League China, I imagine they would call it, or Justice League of China. And it would be interesting if they meet our Justice League at some point in the Rebirth.
Duke it out.
Duke
Or maybe
it out,
even team up.
maybe team
I think
up,
that would
yeah.
be pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't need many more superhero fighting stories right now. If Batman and Superman don't even like each other, and we have a civil war going on at Marvel.
Stop.
A second civil war going on at Marvel.
Yeah. Cool.
Something we forgot to mention in the Rebirth issue, the DC Universe Rebirth, we see that the Atom, Ray Palmer, has discovered the microverse, he calls it.
Yeah, he said, and then he sends one of his students.
His student, an atom belt. I think the kid's name was Ryan.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's been in other stories. I haven't read, everything in the New 52, but
he's from Hong Kong, though, because, like, the principal was yelling at him. She's like, I'll deport you back to Hong Kong.
Oh,
I was like, that's a little weird.
That's interesting, yeah, but, I wonder, because we haven't seen anything from that since May. We haven't seen the Atom again.
Mm-mm.
I wonder if there will be some kind of Atom rebirth where Ryan is the Atom and Ray Palmer's still stuck in this microverse and they try to figure it out together.
Maybe.
Because Rebirth issues are still coming out. Blue Beetle just started. Suicide Squad just recently started.
And
Harley Quinn has started. She has her own book.
No thanks.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on that one. Unless it's really good. Maybe I'll hear it's really good. And give
Batman
it a try.
Beyond's coming out, though.
Batman
You
Beyond,
already know
I think
I'm
October.
stoked on
Dan Jurgens, same guy doing the Action Comics, is going to do Batman Beyond, which is awesome.
Hey.
I don't know. I think that's it. I know they're doing a book with Adam Strange and Hawkman. I forget what it's called. I don't know if it falls into the Rebirth kind of titles.
Probably pass on that. I don't know.
I'm
Maybe
going to
I'll
give it
pick
a try. And if it's good, we'll talk about it on here.
Absolutely.
And what else? Like I said, they're going to do a Trinity book.
Yeah.
But
with Batman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe they'll be buddies, or
There's
that'd be interesting though
if they're not.
if they got in a brawl.
Because the cover of Superman 10 they showed a few weeks ago has Batman and Superman kind of squaring up on it, and then Jonathan and Damian squaring up. So the fathers and their children.
Is Jonathan going to be a part of the new Teen Titans?
I thought he was. I'm
Because
not
I keep
sure.
seeing ads in these books.
Yeah.
And I keep seeing Damian and
He was
Jonathan.
standing next to Jonathan in a lot of the ads.
He's
I don't know
wearing,
if that
like,
was just
a baggy Superman suit.
I don't know if that was to promote Rebirth, just showing that there are these kids, and that's kind of a rebirth. Because we know that one of the Wally West that is now Kid Flash,
Is going to be
on the Teen Titans,
Yeah.
along with I think Beast Boy, Raven, Starfire, and then Damian will be the leader.
the OG squad.
I don't know if Jonathan will be on it. If he is, I think that would be good. I think he's really
Maybe
interesting.
they'll add him on
Yeah.
down the line.
And it would be cool to see them interact with each other because they're both 10 to 11 range, but Damian is, of course, he acts like
Damian's
much older.
13, I think,
Is
isn't he? Because in DC Universe Rebirth, there's a scene where Damian's standing next to a birthday cake that has candles that say 13.
So
and they
maybe he was
blows
10
them
when he
out.
first came along. But I know they're both young, and it would be interesting because Damian is so grown up and edgy and assassin-like, and Jonathan is... Clark's kind of tried to keep him like a kid until recently. He has used his power when the Eradicator and Doomsday show up and threaten his family.
The Eradicator.
And he doesn't quite know how to use his powers yet. He accidentally killed his cat, which made him
Hey.
really sad. And then he swore he was never going to use his powers again, but he does use them to help out his father. And I think his mom kind of gives him a little speech, so he's going to be our Superboy.
They live on, like, a farm.
A
don't
farm. They live far away,
Yeah.
obviously, because they're aliens who have powers. But
Gotta love them.
not just DC things coming out, though. There's a lot coming out that we'll be talking about every week. We don't want to keep it exclusively DC, even though I think we both prefer it at the moment.
I prefer spending $3 opposed to $4.
I do like the price on the DC Rebirth
I do like
issues.
Marvel, though. I'm excited to get into Spider-Man Dead No More.
Dead No More is coming out. That's going to be interesting. Kind of, what is it? Clone
It's like a
Conspiracy,
clone
I think they're
saga,
calling it.
kinda.
Clone Conspiracy, Clone
Yeah.
Saga.
They've
Those
gotten it wrong many times.
Yeah.
There's a couple times they've gotten it
But
right.
the Alex Ross covers on that book.
Oh, man.
are
Alex Ross is
beautiful,
my dude.
beautiful.
Especially with Spider-Man. I like him only for, like, covers, though.
Yeah, I did the Kingdom Come and things like that almost don't work because every panel's like a painting. You know, it's really
Mhm.
nice. But the other things coming out, there's Champions that's going to come. All this Marvel now, Divided We Fall, is going to be from the ashes of Civil War, which we'll talk about the rest of Civil War as they come out. Every week they come out, or I think it's kind of comes out randomly as this Marvel
Yeah.
event. I think it was supposed to be monthly or
They delayed
bi-weekly.
it, actually.
It's
Did you
been
see that?
delayed, yeah. So, but as they come out, we'll talk about them. And from the ashes of that, there's going to be some new things happening. A team called Champions.
Hate the art. I'm intrigued, though.
I'm intrigued by it. It's a kind of a Teen Titans DC
There's
story.
been books I liked that I've absolutely hated the art.
Yeah.
All-Star
and
Batman.
I
Just
don't.
gonna name it.
See, John Romita Jr. You kind of either love or hate. But with the Champions book, it's Miles and Nova,
And Miss Marvel.
young Cyclops, who they pulled in from when Hank McCoy brought back the original X-Men. So young Cyclops, he's got a new suit. Totally awesome Hulk, the Amadeus
Yeah.
Cho Hulk, who I'm not huge on. I don't know much
No.
about him. I didn't read any of that. I don't know if we forgot it. Vision from Tom King's Vision book, which is ending soon
Which is
because he.
good, though.
It is good. It's really good. Vision trying to be a normal guy and have a family, and now his daughter's going to be a superhero, and they can't. That book is going to end at issue 12. I'm guessing because Tom King is writing Batman, and that's probably some kind of contractual issue. But Vision's
Yeah,
ending.
I don't think Marvel really likes their writers writing DC stories.
Yeah, and I think he's gonna. Vision will probably join back in the Avengers, but I think he's still in the Avengers right now, and she'll be on the Champion, so they'll both get their decent amount of coverage.
Is Vision's not in Civil War, is he?
I don't think he's made an appearance yet. Civil War has really been a lot of build-up, a lot of really intense build-up, so it's really, really good. There hasn't been too much superheroes just punching each other in the face yet. That's what the next issue looks like it's going to be. But everybody's made really good points so far, which I really like because with Mark Miller's Civil War in 2007, I think we were all on Captain America's team. You know,
Yeah.
I think the whole universe read that book and they were like, oh, Captain America's right. These people shouldn't have to take off their masks or whatever. But with this one, I don't really know whose team I'm on because there's so many good points coming up from each because the reason they're fighting the Civil War is Ulysses, this Inhuman, has visions of terrible things that are going to happen in the future. Carol Danvers thinks they can use him to their advantage. Tony Stark does not. And since they've tried using him a couple times, Rhodey has died,
Oh.
and now Bruce Banner has died. So two of Tony Stark's best friends have died through using this Inhuman, which is, I mean, definitely probably makes him not want to.
I probably wouldn't be too thrilled either.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting concept though, because it makes you think if we could see the future. It's kind of like Minority Report with Tom Cruise. If you can stop a crime before it happens. But now Bruce Banner's dead. Hawkeye shot him with an arrow Bruce Banner, I think, made for Hawkeye. And we just found out that Hawkeye is going to walk scot-free. He's innocent. And
yeah, because Bruce Banner was like, do what you have to do.
Yeah, he said basically if I ever Hulk out again, shoot me. But he didn't even Hulk out.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of getting there on the edge. All these superheroes went because they figured there would be a problem with Bruce Banner hulking out, and they were kind of worried. And he eventually gets shot, and I guess dies for the purpose of this story. Nobody ever dies in comic books.
No one ever dies.
But for now, Bruce Banner's dead, which is huge for Iron Man. And I mean, obviously, Rhodey was huge for both because he was romantically involved with Carol Danvers, and he was best friends with Iron Man, so that's pretty rough. Other things coming out in the fall, The Unworthy Thor.
That looks very interesting. I don't know a thing about it, but that cover.
I'm excited. We obviously know he's not Thor anymore. Jane Foster is Thor, which deems him, I guess, unworthy.
We were talking about this a while ago. Yeah, I hope that they're going to, come into some sort of brawl or something.
Yeah, either brawl or maybe even team up, because it looks like on the cover of this Unworthy Thor, he's grabbing a new hammer. A new hammer.
It's like a axe hammer kind of thing. It's kind of like, I think they did the same thing in Ultimate Thor.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a 5-parter, which is nice because I want to. If it's an ongoing, I'd be spending $4 every month on it. But it's just gonna be a 5-parter. I think it's written by Jason Aaron, who's been doing Thor for a while, and he does Star Wars, and I think he's great. So it'll be interesting to see Thor again. Venom is coming back to Earth as the Venom we all know and love. We don't know who's in the symbiote, but he's been. For years now, he's been a secret agent. He's been a space knight.
Yeah, with the Guardians.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see him come back. I loved him as a kid, and I don't know. Do you think it could be Flash Thompson?
I hope it's not.
If
Flash
it's Eddie
Thompson.
Brock, that would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool.
And Eddie Brock, in Amazing Spider-Man years ago, I think 2000
something or other,
10 or 11, we realized he had cancer and he had to have the symbiote to stay alive.
Yeah.
And that's how he got anti-venom.
But he tried to get rid of the symbiote.
Yeah, he didn't want it. But
it was staying with him.
Yeah, and the Venom symbiote created the anti-Venom symbiote and gave it to Eddie Brock. And then he had Toxin for a while. I think he needs a symbiote to survive. So if he came back as Venom, that would be pretty awesome.
I know Eddie Brock tried to kill himself a couple times, but
yeah, he
Spider-Man saved his life.
And then I think the Venom symbiote's the only reason Flash Thompson can walk as well. So it's interesting. They both kind of need the symbiote. Flash Thompson doesn't have legs. He lost them at war. And Eddie Brock has cancer. They both kind of need a symbiote. So whoever gets it, I think, is really going to benefit, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
I think it'd be cool if Flash got the anti-Venom symbiote.
Let's kind of switch the roles.
Future Foundation kind of
agent look, maybe?
Yeah,
because he's coming back to Earth, so if he was an agent, that'd be cooler. Because I couldn't really get behind the Space Knight thing.
I just not a fan.
Rom is the Space Knight, and then when he first went up with the Guardians, he was Agent Venom. So why switch to a giant Space Knight? Maybe I haven't read too much of that. I read the first few issues of Guardians, and they're gonna end the Guardians, so I'm sure we'll try to pick that up and talk about it on here when that happens. And then I think they're all gonna get their own series, but. Maybe he's losing control of the symbiote, and that's why he's going to come back as the normal Venom.
That'd be an interesting story.
Because he's had quite control over it, and maybe that's why it's getting bigger. Maybe he can't handle it, but I'm not quite sure.
I know sometimes he loses control. I don't read much Agent Venom.
Yeah.
I got the first couple issues. I think it was just called Venom. I don't think it was called Agent
and now it's Venom Space Knight, which I just picked up the newest one because it looked like it was a Civil War tie-in where he was going to fight Spider-Man. So if we both read that, we can talk about that. But also in October is the Darth Vader finale.
You know me, I love me some Star Wars.
Very sad because it's one of the best books going right now. But I'm sure a 25th issue is going to be incredible. And when that happens, we can probably do a podcast kind of dedicated to Darth Vader because it's an awesome book.
Or just Star Wars in general.
Star Wars
I know the whole Star Wars Marvel run is incredible.
It's great. It's ever since 2015, I think everything's been really, really good. And I'm interested to see what they'll do with Darth Vader afterwards because I know the creative team is done, and that's why they're ending it. I don't know if they'll bring it back or if Darth Vader will show up in the Star Wars book or how they're going to do that. At some point, they got to flip the timeline because the Star Wars book since 2015 has been taking place in between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. And you would think at some point there's not enough stories left to tell.
Yeah,
And they have
but
to go in between Empire
there's
Strikes
always
Back.
stories to tell.
There's
We
always
know
stories
this.
to tell, yeah. But I think at some point they have to go to, Empire Strikes Back in between Return of the Jedi, how they kind of set up the plan to free Han.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I really want to see is stories from after Return of the Jedi.
Oh, yeah. That... We talked about this a while ago. That is like a must-have.
Whether it be comic books or a cartoon show after
Animated
they finish
feature
up
or something
Rebels,
like
and animated features, they could work with Marvel on that kind of thing.
I just want to see
Anything.
Luke working with Jedi.
Yeah, because there's a few years, it seems like, before everything goes to shit. So, because Kylo Ren obviously couldn't come straight out of the womb and ruin everything. So I want to see... And, the Empire can't get shut down overnight, and they showed us that in Shattered Empire, right after the Battle of Endor. There's like, okay, there's still Empire out there, and we got to go take care of it.
Yeah.
And so it'd be interesting to see, because I'm sure Leia, Han, and Luke still team up for a little while after. And then I'd love to see them go their separate ways in a comic book story. I think that'd be great.
But, yeah.
Because I know in the Bloodline book, Leia's working as a senator. I think it's a senator for the New Republic. And then Han Solo he's teaches
still,
racing or something.
He does racing.
Yeah.
And then he's still like a smuggler.
Goes back to smuggling. And
Yeah.
then Luke is obviously off training Jedi. So I think they really don't see their kid for a while. See, just on the movie, I kind of thought maybe Luke was training Ben, but they were all in the same place. I think he took him, and they went and trained Jedi stuff somewhere. I think he took their kid. But I'm sure they gave him permission. But, and it seems like, so Han and Leia don't see each other that often, and they're still trying to hold on to a marriage. And they don't see their son that often. So I don't think they get to see their son before he turns to the dark side and ruins everything for Luke Skywalker.
I would like to see be it comic book or whatever,
Yeah.
where you see the downfall of Kylo Ren.
Yeah, Kylo Ren turn, and I want to see how are the Knights of Ren formed, because we really didn't even get anything from them in the movie. All we know is he's master of them.
I think in Rebels you see a couple like Knights of Ren helmets, don't you?
Or they're Inquisitors. I think they're a different
Are they?
thing. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah, but the Knights of Ren, I think it's an interesting concept, because Snoke calls Kylo Ren master of the Knights of Ren. So Snoke isn't their master. And I want to know if they're Force sensitive, if they have the Force. Because they all seem to have melee weapons and not lightsabers. But Kylo Ren's lightsaber looks like it's about to damn near explode. So maybe that's the only lightsaber that these people can get their hands on, and that's why they don't have their own.
Maybe. I think in one of the books, it talks about how like lightsaber crystals and stuff like that are like illegal.
Yeah, or illegal or rare or something. Because it looks like maybe that's why that Kylo Ren's lightsaber crystal is so old. Maybe that's why his lightsaber's all crackling and he has to have exhaust ports. Which I could imagine maybe it's Snoke's lightsaber crystal because he's ancient and his lightsaber crystal would obviously be old.
It could always be like in Episode 7 when Kylo's trying to get Luke's lightsaber. He could be trying to collect lightsabers for the Knights of Ren. So he has like an unbeatable force.
Yeah, either that or I think, he's just so obsessed with Darth Vader that he wants everything Darth Vader ever touched. He claims it belongs to him because, he knows
it belongs to
Darth Vader's his grandfather, which he's up for an awakening when they tell him Darth Vader died a Jedi. I don't think he knows that, because if he knew that, he wouldn't be on this crusade, which hopefully in Episode 8 he and Luke cross paths.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah, but either way, I hope that the Marvel comic book touches kind of that time period. They're doing a Poe Dameron comic, but obviously they're not going to review or reveal too much in a comic book solely about Poe Dameron. It's a lot of rebel adventures.
They did a C-3PO comic where he lost his red
They
arm.
told us how he got the red arm.
Yeah. And then in like Lego Star Wars, the same thing happened.
Yeah, they did the same thing in a Lego
they showed
game.
us in the comic book.
But that I think was maybe a little unnecessary, but
who knows?
Yeah, it's for a Star Wars special issue. I mean, the other annuals have been really good. But
I'm excited.
I'm excited for everything coming out. Yeah, and also DC. Have you seen anything about the Young Animal?
No, I have not.
DC is doing this thing called Young Animal, which I guess a couple of them are headed by the guy who sings vocals for My Chemical Romance.
No thanks.
So basically,
my brother would be really into that
it
stuff.
Seems like Hot Topic is gonna explode all over comic book pages. But There's Shade the Changing Girl is the name of one of them. The one that guy is writing, the guy from My Chemical Romance, I guess his name is Gerard Way. He's writing Doom Patrol, which is an actual DC team. They're not made up for this. Young Animal Doom Patrol. And I actually kind of like the Doom Patrol. They're cool. But it seems like everybody else is these new made-up characters. There's a guy named Cave Carson, and he has a cybernetic eye. And there's Shade the Changing Girl, which looks like she's maybe some kind of weird alien. And then there's a character named Mother Panic, who is a young girl vigilante. But the story's going to take place in Gotham.
It could be interesting.
That could be interesting.
I mean, I'm not going to judge the guy's writing because we've seen writers like that before who just surprise us. Like CM Punk.
CM Punk with Drax is really good, and he did a Thor annual. He's really good. A lot of people have come in. I mean, Jeff Loeb came in as a movie guy and became, wrote Hush and all these incredible Batman stories. So I think he could surprise us, and we'll at the very least check out the first issue when they come out and talk about it on here. The first issue of all these books. And if we don't love them, we won't go on, but maybe they could be huge. And
give them a chance.
Yeah, of course. And it'll be interesting to see a character in Gotham because Batman's...
That's not Batman.
Yeah, Batman's gathered up all these Gotham vigilantes, so maybe Batman will cross over with Mother Panic. And speaking of, I'm also interested to see them do more with Duke. Batman's
the not a Robin. I'm trying something new.
Is he Batboy? What are they gonna call him?
He has like a yellow and black suit.
And it's like a motorcycle kind of suit. And they keep saying, I'm trying something new. And the last time Commissioner Gordon asked, Batman says, I'm trying something new, and they fist bump, which was kind of funny. But the little extra story at the end of All-Star Batman had Batman and Duke finally actually kind of teaming up, and it was really good.
That was my favorite part about All-Star
Batman. I kind of liked that more, and I know everybody loves All-Star Batman, and I think it's pretty good, and I think it's going to be a good Batman road trip story.
I mean, Scott Snyder's writing it. Something has to
He's
happen.
incredible, and it's his first time really working with Two-Face, I think. Two-Face might have shown up in some of the Eternal books, that weekly stuff, but in his main run, he never dealt with Two-Face. So that'll be interesting. And, that little book in the back, though, I really liked, because I've been waiting for a long time to see Batman actually work with Duke.
And he has Duke do, detective work and, helps him out. Because in Batman Rebirth, he's like, Duke, give me the coordinates of the plane and how fast it's moving.
He's kind of like a Tim Drake-ish Alfred kind of thing right now, but it's weird that he's put together this team of vigilantes in Detective Comics, and Duke's not, a member of it.
He could always be like, I don't want them people to know about him yet.
Oh, yeah, maybe
his training's not
maybe
done.
Those cams weren't watching Duke, so Batman didn't even get him involved because, that could be dangerous for him. But he was from We Are Robin, and he was one of the Robins, claimed to be a Robin. It's cool that Batman kind of plucked the best and made him Batboy, or whatever he's going to be. Whatever Duke might be.
I hope it's not Batboy.
Yeah, and Batboy wouldn't be good, but he could have a cool name. I mean, there's so many members of the Bat family at this point that I'm open to a new Batman sidekick. Because Damian really hasn't been in the Rebirth stuff much, but we know he's going to be in Teen Titans, so he probably won't be with Batman much.
I hope not. I mean, Batman and Robin, especially Damian, they're good stories, but I want Damian to do, something else.
Yeah, they could something fresh, because Batman and Robin for the New 52 is really, really good. They had and Batman Incorporated where Damian died, and then they did the Requiem where Batman was broken. It was very sad.
And then armor.
Yeah, they go to Apocalypse and have this Robin Omega Rises and all that stuff. So there were a lot of really good Batman and Robin stories. So it'll be interesting to see them separate, because they can always be really good when they're separated from each other. And I think it will be, because Batman has so many sidekicks right now. He has his team in detective.
Tim Drake, he is.
It looks like, I'm sure he and Gotham Girl he'll train her or something. It said the next Batman arc is, I think, Gotham Girl Year 1 is what they're calling it.
She was getting close to Duke, if you could see it in Batman.
Yeah, and she...
And I think it even says that they got married. It says it somewhere in that
Something
book.
Weird happened at the end of that book where they talk about the future, and she mentions... I think killing Batman or something. It was the weirdest thing. Some weird futuristic talk was going on at the end of that book, and we'll see kind of how that plays out. But she's getting her own Year 1 story in Batman next week or 2 weeks from now, which I don't know if that means she'll, they're going back to her past when she was a kid, or if they're telling Batman, kind of turning her into a superhero, because Gotham, her brother, is dead.
Interesting.
And she...
I like the character.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I liked them both, too.
Gotham.
Yeah.
Gonzo.
But, he could come back. Dr. Hugo Strange doing some weird stuff, making Monster Men, maybe. The Monster Men
that
could be...
like...
Because he at one point said the Monster Men are coming and had some red eyes and killed a bunch of people. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and Batman had to confront him, which led to the end of that book. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Who knows?
And as we said, as comic books come out, every week we're going to talk about them. So the continuation of everything we've talked about here and anything else new coming out, we're going to talk about.
We won't just talk about the, comic books on the show. We're all about movies, video games.
But at least weekly we'll talk about the comics and news. Yeah, any news surrounding the comic book world.
The news.
Not just the news, but any kind of geeky news. But movies, we'll talk about movies. But at least every week we'll talk about the comic books that come out. And the news surrounding the comic book world. Anything big happening,
Lord knows we have strong opinions on
We do. We have a lot of strong opinions on movies. And the next one coming out is Doctor Strange. So we can sit down and talk about that. But really this summer, we get a Thor movie. We get a Spider-Man movie. And a Guardians movie.
Thor Ragnarok, I
hope will be really awesome. I like the Thor movies. Guardians is great, a sequel. And Spider-Man Homecoming. So I'm excited to talk about all three of those.
I'm pumped.
That'll be pretty big.
Cool.
And then anything else happening at DC too, and Rogue One. We'll have a lot of movie talk.
But we'll have like a whole episode.
We'll do separate episodes.
Star Wars fans,
yeah, we'll do separate episodes for the movies when they come out. Like if we're gonna talk Doctor Strange, we'll do the Doctor Strange episode.
We'll bring notepads to the movies. We'll write down
and that week we'll also do our comic book podcast, so that way we can talk about the comics that came out, and we can also talk about the movies.
Awesome.
All right.
Cool. What are we calling this again? It was.
From Gotham to Knowhere.
From Gotham to
Knowhere. The
Knowhere.
whole spectrum of the comic book world.
And when we say Knowhere, we mean like the Knowhere from Guardians.
Yeah.
It's pretty clever.
I thought so. All right. You want to sign off there for this week?
All right.
Wonderful.
I am Spencer Ty.
I'm Noah Calvin.
And this is From Gotham to Knowhere. We'll see you next time.